Hello, creatives. And do we have a question for you? When you were little, what was your favorite thing to create? Were you in a sandbox? Did you have color and crayons? What were you doing that you loved when you were creating? I was outside writing plays in my head and making all of my friends act along. How about you, Teresa? What were you doing?
Oh, I was making up stories in my head, you know, usually based on whatever book I was reading.
Were you writing them down or were you making your friends act
Oh,
out?
no, I definitely wrote them down and no, didn't really tell anybody about it or anything. It was like, a little secret thing.
Like your special heart, your heart.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, Molly, your turn.
When I was really little, the first thing, and then not so little, the first things I really remember creating was I would build stuff like Lego.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never like back in the day, maybe the Legos came in kits, maybe. But I never followed whatever the kit was. I just had Legos and I was like, all right, I'll build a house, a car, whatever, like whatever structure I wanted to. I had my Legos and I would just create. I would just attach them and it was very tactile. I really this is some of my first like creation memories.
We're the semi stages of the pages, and we wanted to bring 5 ways for you to protect that creativity and make that like spark from when you were little come alive. So I'm Morgan,
This is Molly.
And I'm Teresa.
and we hope that you enjoyed this episode of 5 ways about how to protect your creativity. And if you do, please comment, give us more ideas, and like and subscribe because we're a small channel that's trying to make a big splash. So let's get right to it. Molly, if you had to think of 5 ways to protect your creativity, what's your number one?
I think my number one is going back to what we just talked about, and that's kind of protecting our inner child, protecting this kind of view that all of us maybe had when we were young of the world, where the world is magical and interesting, and you never know what's going to be around the corner, and you never know is going to happen and who's going to say what, and you're filled with this curiosity and this excitement for what's around you. And I'm gonna be honest, sometimes the world is a little dark, the world that we currently live in. And
Mhm.
sometimes being an adult is difficult and it's easy to get jaded and it's easy to get worn down. But sometimes it's really good to just try to remember that there are things in the world that can excite you and you can try to be curious about them and play, right? Allow yourself to play and experiment and ask questions and imagine, which is hard. You have to like sometimes carve out intention to do that.
I see you like
And
making snow angels.
and so if our listeners are like, I don't know how to do that anymore. I get up, I get the kids off to school, I go to work, I pick them up, I take them to whatever it is, I come home and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. How do you become curious again if you've lost this?
So I think there's a lot of things you can do. There's targeted strategies like writing prompts are a big one.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes I do the like, how would I solve this problem if I was insert
Oh.
Superman, or if I had all the money in the world, or like whatever. And that just gets me thinking in a different mindset than where I'm currently at. Like the goal is to break the mindset that you're currently in some way. So like those kinds of prompts can be helpful, or something like, okay, this is my cheat, right? Come here, come close, come close. Let
I'm
me tell
like,
you. Yeah, lie to children. It's great. Um, when they ask you like, does Santa Claus exist? Obviously, the answer is yes. Make up stories. Tell them. They ask, "Hey, why why were you late coming to dinner?" I ran into a bear. I had to save an orphanage from, a fire.
I
Yeah.
love that. So we can lie to children. We can ask
Mhm. We can
prompts.
lie to children.
How would I
Oh,
solve this if?
here's another one. People watch. This is really, if you're out with your friend or your spouse or even by yourself, make up stories for the people that you see walking by.
Oh,
Ooh,
that's
that
fun.
person's secretly an undercover, you know, agent for, something like that. And they're on a mission to find the lost jewels from the Louvre. Like, whatever it is, like, make up stories, find excuses to make up stories and stretch that creativity, that inner child that you might have, where
I always
anything is
assume
possible.
people, I always assume people are having hidden affairs.
Sure.
These are not children things. I'm also thinking that you get curious about, back to your question, Teresa, why is it so hard sometimes for us just to be in the moment and create? And
Hmm.
sometimes that means it's time to just turn off our big person brain and run around and scream and throw our hair and have fun, because what else are we going to do? We're only one person, So, okay, so inner child is one. This may resonate with you, but we're not done. Let's find 4 other ways to protect your creativity. Teresa, what do you got for us?
I think you got to protect your physical environment. So if you are trying to create, and maybe your creation is scrapbooking, and you're like, all right, kitchen table, I'm going to spread out all my stuff and do that. And then your kids come home and they throw their backpacks and their lunches and everything up on top of that. That's that's not going to make you want to create. That's going to actually shut you down again. So creating, finding a physical environment that is yours, that is what you like. It might be noisy, it might be chaotic. You might create very well in that environment. That might be great. Other people need to hide in a closet with their computer and their paints or whatever it is to write or create or whatever. You got to figure out kind of what works best for you. So how would they find this out if they're just now trying to become a creative again and get back in touch with their inner child?
I'm going to go back to music again. I think
Mm,
looking at music, Pinterest boards, surrounding yourself with the kind of art that you like. And I think you're right, Teresa, about getting in touch with, do you need alone time? Going back to that, why can't I
mhm.
connect? What's encroaching? For some of us, we are surrounded by people all day and we love our people more than anything, but we have them all day. And so maybe we need a break from the people. And for some people, they're more alone all day. And so they might need to, like you were saying, Molly, get out and be in a more creative space, move to a library, Starbucks or something.
Join a meetup, a create space.
Our
There's
Discord.
yeah, exactly. Do a sprint with a bunch of people on Discord. Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
because
Molly.
fun sprints. Yeah.
Something that I like to do sometimes, depending on the day, is I might go to like a park, or like people get
Mm,
work done at like Starbucks or something like that, and then everything just kind
hmm
of becomes white noise. That can be difficult for me, but sometimes your protected space isn't always a space that you own.
hmm I agree with that.
Right? You might have to experiment. You might have to try different places and find
Yeah.
something that works. And what works now might not work tomorrow.
Yeah.
hmm So again, I think it's back to the original one. Stay curious. Try something. What's the worst that happens if it doesn't work? Okay, you spent $5 on coffee.
That made me think about the power of reading too, and how maybe sometimes our protected space is not in our own mind, even in our own. I know this is kind of outside the physical environment, but sometimes if you go into a book or something that you loved, it can then make your space feel different.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a good point.
The music idea, but it's like sometimes I'll read the right book and then my whole room feels different. My whole world feels different, just by
Hmm
and sometimes I forget to prioritize reading.
hmm I can see that. I think another way you could protect your physical environments is with headphones.
Mm.
That's a huge one too, and to the point about how reading changes emotion, music can change emotion too. You can shut the world away and play with your emotions simply with a set of earbuds and a good music choice.
I think you've
Go, Molly.
struck on something really interesting, which is like protecting our physical environment. Really, another way to reframe that is we're protecting ourselves from different type of sensory overloads and sensory
Mm,
interruptions. So, like, what could those sensory inputs be, right? They could be noise. All right, we can put on headphones, we can put out noise canceling headphones. It could be touch. Maybe we want to put ourselves in a place where just nobody is touching us, or the
mhm.
temperature is right, whatever that means to you. Maybe we got to avoid smells. We can't be near a kitchen. We can't be near food where we're going to want to eat a bunch, right? Like those kinds of like, how do we protect our senses and our inputs from being overloaded or getting pulled in different directions when we're trying to create? That's not how usually we talk about our physical space, but maybe it resonates with someone.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's a perfect segue into our third one. A third way to protect your creativity. I think the segue's there. Teresa, do you want to tell them?
Yep. And it's protecting your time. So this one's very important, especially in our really busy world. You have to find a way to protect your time. And probably the best way to do this is to have a conversation with the people you share your environment with. Set those boundaries up on, hey, when, from this time to this time, that's my time. I'm going to be painting, scrapbooking, writing, whatever it is. So that's one clear way you can do it. You can also leave the environment, go to a coffee shop, go find a makerspace and that type of thing. But it's also internal too. You have to show up for yourself. It is so easy to be like, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend the next 2 hours writing. And then an hour later, you're still doing this on your phone. You're still scrolling because it's easier than creating. And, or you just, an email pings in or a text message from a friend pings in. So you have to internally set those boundaries as well. Yeah, go Morgan.
What I think I heard you say that's so powerful is you have to set up time for your creativity. You have to value it.
Hmm.
Anything that is a priority in your life it has to be a thought in how you structure your life. So if you're not feeling creative, if you're not feeling inspired, if you're having writer's block, then you need to give yourself permission and time to go out and explore how to get that back, to go on your mission,
Hmm.
to like back to Molly's fun story about a diamond. Maybe creativity is the thing that you're looking for, and now you get to go all these great places to explore it. But you're gonna have to make time so that you can go people watch, or you can go into nature, or you can get your new playlist. And maybe it's as simple as you set out your creativity time and you get to do anything you want with the creativity time. You get to cook, you get it, but it has to be something that you feel protects that part of you that
Hmm.
only you can have.
I was gonna say, like, I know that it's really difficult for so many of us. We're so busy and we have so many commitments to other people and to ourselves, and those commitments can be overwhelming. How do you have enough time in the day if you have kids and you're trying to eat healthy, you're trying to job, and then maybe you need another job and maybe et cetera, like errands and all this stuff, and it is overwhelming. Um, and sometimes, but I think Morgan is bringing up a good point. Like, as humans, it is important that we find some sort of creative outlet. And it might not be structured. It might not be you have to sit down and you have to write for an hour every day. It might not be that you have to structurally like block out time to paint or draw or something like that. But it's part of the thing that feeds us as humans and that gives the world and our lives light and brightness and hope.
You're segueing so well into our fourth one. because that's really what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, you want, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you really just said like this actually lead like the reason we're doing this, you're talking about how important it is to protect your creativity. You're making this argument that all of us need to protect our creativity because
Yeah.
creativity goes hand in hand with our
With your mental state. And
Mhm.
health.
we're
Yeah,
living in some tough times.
yeah.
It is easy to be like to doom scroll, to look at what's on the internet or on the TV or in our backyards and not see the light and brightness that exists in the world. And it's hard to create. It is mentally difficult to create when you feel that oppression. Um, it really is. And so how do you protect yourself from this like this weight that is all around us,
Well,
right?
it doesn't even have to be like from the big world, like
Sure.
anxiety, FOMO,
Yes.
fear of missing out
Yes.
is huge. Especially as creators, we put our hearts into things, we put them out there, and then people go, meh, or they're like, I hate that, or that was overwritten,
Yep.
and you have this expectation, and when it's not met, it can feel like you just want to retreat. And think truly healing about remembering that creativity can be just for you.
Yep. And I was gonna say, like, it could even just be we all have bad days. We all have days when we might just be sad or upset, and
Mhm.
maybe some of us have more of those days than others, and all sorts of different things can affect that. And that can be hard when you're talking about creativity and how do you create when you don't feel the joy,
That's a good one.
right? And I think there's a lot of things we've already talked about some strategies and they're going to be different for every person, right? And I think it's really about like, okay, how do you find some sort of joy as adults, how to in some ways how to self-regulate, right? How do we find some joy, whether it's like you ladies have said, listening to music that cheers us up, being nostalgic, watching a movie that cheers us up, cooking, doing like sometimes forcing ourselves to be creative brings us more joy and then lets us be more creative on top of that, right? Like sometimes it is about sitting down and saying, no, I'm going to set this time and I will write. And I don't
Mhm.
feel like it, but I will. Or even it's sometimes about finding inspiration even when it is traumatic. I've had traumatic moments and I've channeled that into really good writing and it was therapeutic for me, but I
Yes.
didn't feel joy. I wasn't happy about it, but it helped me process things and it helped me like protect my mental state and stability of how I thought and how I viewed the world. Morgan, did you have a thought?
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, I think sometimes for mental health, creativity isn't about joy at all. And I think it's dangerous to always think that creativity is about joy. And I think that
Mhm.
set us up for some really serious mental health issues. If every time you show up for creativity, you have to be happy, or every time you show up in a spot that joy has to be associated with that, creativity is the way we keep going in a world where it's hard to get out of bed. And even though it may not look like that on the outside, sometimes creativity is exactly what we need to keep it, to be able to smile and to be able to show compassion for other people and to be able to be things for other people when we ourselves feel like we're not enough. And so I think when I think about creativity and mental health, it's exactly what you said, Molly. You said it so well. I think it's that place sometimes where we can be dark and real and authentic, and no one has to know but us. And I think that's what's so special about this idea of protecting your creativity is protecting your mental health. And that's why I just love your idea
Well, creativity is about expressing emotion. And if the only time we show up to express creativity is when we're joyful, we're missing a lot of emotions and we're missing the ability to express those emotions. And just because you express some negative emotions doesn't mean you have to share it with anybody. It's for you. All right. And I think that is a perfect segue. All right, Morgan, over to you.
there. So, our fifth and final way to help protect your creativity because you deserve it is to protect who gives you feedback. So essentially, we're saying sometimes we're in a mental space where anyone can give us feedback, and we're in a place where we're healthy and happy and we're welcoming that and it's okay. And there are other times where feedback can be really hurtful because we might just barely be hanging on, or we have too much like invested in the moment, you know? And so I think it's really important to think about when we want feedback, if we really want feedback, and to protect our creativity by maybe there are things we think we want feedback on, but we don't really. And I would love your advice, both of you. How do I know if it's something I actually want feedback on, or I just think I want feedback on? And Molly, I know you have this brilliant idea about like a praise reader, or a what do they call it? A
Cheerleader. So I guess, yeah, I will give you my take on when I want feedback or not. Because Teresa, I think you mentioned it, and Morgan, you might have mentioned as well. Sometimes I create and I write and it's just for me. It's not for anybody else, and I don't want feedback from anybody else. And I think it becomes like when I'm looking at a piece and I'm like, do I want to share this because A, I want someone to know how I feel, in which case I don't want critical feedback from that. That's a sharing moment, right? I want affirmation. I want someone to understand me. But if I get criticism from that, that could really hurt because I've put my feelings and I'm trying to communicate feelings in a different way. Okay. Maybe I want feedback because I want to feel validated. This, perfect for a cheerleader, right? You just want someone to tell you, yeah?
Cheerleader.
Cheerleader.
Okay.
Yeah. And you tell the person specifically, you say, I don't want to hear criticism. Just tell me how awesome I am. And I know sometimes we get told that like external validation, we shouldn't need external validation, but sometimes it feels really good to get external validation. And that's what you're asking for. You're just like externally, like, just tell me I'm awesome. And that can feel really good. But then when I'm in a place where I'm with a piece, right? For me, piece, a story, and I sincerely want that story to be the best it can be, apart from me. My emotions are not tied to it at all. I want that story to be the best it could be. That's when I personally really want critical feedback and can take it from anybody from any angle. And to know, I have to know myself and I have to know why I'm sharing a thing. And why I'm sharing a thing dictates who I'm sharing it with and what I'm asking for them to give me when I share it with them. Did that answer your question, Morgan?
It was perfect. And I love this idea of when we can move our egos aside and like care about the thing itself, that we can take feedback better, you know? And sometimes I agree, Molly. I feel like sometimes we're in a place to do that and sometimes we're not.
Yeah. I think it's okay if you're not always in a place where like acknowledging that if I got like negative feedback on this, it would hurt me and that would be bad for my mental state. It is okay to acknowledge that and then act accordingly to protect yourself. And that is a way to protect your creativity.
Now, let's flip the script a little bit here. Let's say that you're like, okay, I did this and I do want feedback. But then you start getting it and then you find out you really didn't want feedback. How how can you know that ahead of time? Or I guess, actually I'm going to rephrase. How I know that I didn't actually want feedback is when I give something out and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they love it. I'm sure they're going to love it. I'm sure they're going to love it. And if that's the state that I'm in when I give it to them, then I don't want feedback. I want them to love it.
Yeah, you want them to love it. And it's okay to want people to love it. That's okay. It's human.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think being honest with people, the worst thing you can say is totally open to feedback if you're not, because people take that as the invitation to give feedback and they will. So be careful when you say that.
And you don't have to invite everyone.
No, no.
I was gonna tee it to you, Morgan. I think you have good like boundaries on like picking how do you pick who you're going to get? Like if you want feedback, that doesn't necessarily mean you want feedback from everyone, right?
Yeah, I think Teresa said it really well. She's like, first you need to decide, do you want a cheerleader or somebody to tell you your painting's amazing or eat your cooking and tell you it's the best thing in the world or listen to your song and say it's one of a kind? Or do you really want someone who's going to pick through it and make it better? And I think just setting people up with fair boundaries. So one of the things I like to say is, okay, I really want feedback, but part of feedback is I need to know what's working. Because if nothing is working here, then I'm going to ruminate on the 2 or 3 things they tell me because I know myself and I'm just going to think about the negative and I'm just going to stay awake all night and think about the one thing I screwed up. And I'm just going to think about it and think about it and think about it and think about it. And that's all I'm going to do. But if I also get praise, if I also get, oh my gosh, this part was so good, or I loved this, or the color choice was great, or then I'm going to think about that too. And it helps balance it out. And so I think it's really important to remind even the people giving feedback, can you tell me what you like? Because I need to hear that too. And if there's nothing there, okay, then I know. Maybe I don't use that feedback person again. Because if they're not the kind of people who can see good in things, then they're probably not the kind of people who can take what I have where it is and make it great.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point. Not everyone is great at giving feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone
That's
is great
true.
at giving feedback at everything. And you don't have to ask them, like, it's no insult to them, where we all have
No.
skills. There are certain people that I'm like, I love you. I I'm not going to have them beta read for me because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for them. It's not healthy for me. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
And
Yeah.
if you want a healthy beta reading community and amazing feedback, you can go to our Discord where the nicest people in the world live, and you can join our Race to Rejection. Because if you're up for feeling the real feedback and you're an author and you're in the trenches and you're getting your rejection letters, then jump on in and come to our Discord and play our game with us.
Absolutely. And if you stuck around, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
We're so happy you're here.
All right. And we'll see you
Go
around.